On Monday, the White House approved another $105 million for humanitarian efforts in East Africa, where more than 12 million people are at risk of starvation. Erica Hill is at the Dadaab refugee camp in Kenya, the world's largest, where 400,000 hungry Somalis have come seeking food and shelter, and more are on the way. Erica, good morning.
Yeah, Chris, good morning to you. And that new pledge actually brings the U.S. total for humanitarian aid for this area to $565 million. It's money that is used for food, water, shelter, and sanitation. This morning, we visited one of the food distribution centers here in Dadaab. They're run by Care International. And the one that we went to services about a third of those 400,000 plus refugees.
Twice a month, the refugees living in Dadaab's 3 camps make their way to a center like this, where they receive enough food to give them 2,100 calories a day, a bare minimum made up of carefully measured portions of flour, cornmeal, beans, and soy-based protein. Care International runs the food distribution in Dadaab, where the need is growing every day.
Probably in about 5,000 per week. We've got upwards of 80,000 now that have arrived since January.
While some are just learning to navigate this essential ritual, others have been coming here for 2 decades, one of the many humbling experiences refugees face from the moment they arrive.
As you can imagine, having to do this thing every 2 weeks to come and get your food, it's about dignity as well, knowing that you're dependent upon food rations to be able to survive and your family. It's kind of hard.
And a constant reminder of the struggles they face each day.
You're here until the last refugee is able to leave. So you're here indefinitely.
The idea is that we don't want to see the refugees in a more vulnerable position. So we're here for the long haul.
Incredible. Erica, can they support these basics with other food?
Yeah, they do, actually. One of the things that's sprung up are different marketplaces. And so while they can't really grow anything here in the camps because the soil just won't support it, there's, of course, a drought as well, they can get things from towns about a couple of hours away that are brought in and sold at different markets that have sprung up. We're going to give you a look at those in the next hour of the early show. I also wanted to point out, Chris, that you may have noticed a lot of the workers handing out the food are actually refugees. CARE has about 1,600, a little over 1,600 refugees who work for them, not only doing food distribution, but also working on education projects. And it gives them an incredible sense of pride, and so important, too, as we talk about giving them hope and hope of something better for their children. Chris?
And Erica, real quickly, how many refugees are coming to the camp each day? Is it over 1,000?
You know, the numbers fluctuate, but right now we're hearing between 1,300 and 1,500 on average each day.
All right, Erica, thanks so much.